Hey, what is up? My name is William Gill. Happy to have you, and just a quick background on me. Essentially, I've been coaching for at least 7 years in the fitness industry by now, helping others get their shape absolutely dialed in, confident version of themselves, as I myself, when I was younger, was none of those things. I was shy, an anxious person. I had no idea how to speak up. I would be the one shaking in class if the name was even pulled at me and people and their eyes were looking at me. I could not stand it. I couldn't talk to girls, I couldn't do any of it, okay? So essentially, my journey of developing myself to be in the best shape of my life possible, work full time for myself with my online business, and then to help others get in shape and do the same, has been what I've been doing with my life these past couple of years, which also led me to become more of an expert in that sales realm for Bruno Bairami, who was originally my mentor.
Is it easier to sell 100 Mini Coopers or one Bugatti?
Easy, one Bugatti.
And then I started coaching within his business as one of his top students. So I'm here to tell you today how I went from that person in a small town who was held back, stifled in life, to then creating a life of my own design, something I'm truly proud of and excited to live every day with people fucking around me who I love, and just absolutely growing even further into potential. And I want to show you exactly the steps that I took to do that, and then how you can start doing the same. Now, the first step to really changing yourself and to really get out of what feels almost like a rut. You know, I remember times where I felt like I wanted to speak up as a younger kid, and it literally felt like I could not put any voice out of my mouth. Like there was something just holding me back, so much fear, okay? So the most important step, first of all, when you want to recreate yourself and recreate your life, is to not identify with the current version of yourself that you are. This is a big trap that most people get into. I hear time and time again, people talking about, I'm an anxious person, right? I have anxiety, or I'm just not the kind of person to do that. I'm not that confident. And here's the thing, the more that you identify as the kind of person who lives the life that you currently are living right now, which if you're watching this, you are not happy with it, then you are going to continue to find ways to reinforce that reality. Because what I want you to understand is this, is that identity is just a concept, okay? It's something that the ego likes to latch onto because it wants to create an identity, right? Like, I am this, I am that. It wants that sense of predictability, and it wants to be able to latch onto something, whether it's for status purposes, and to also know its place in the societal hierarchy that we have. When you truly understand that in this world, there is no doctor or teacher or whatever it is. These are labels that we put on as shortcuts to understand maybe the actions that someone does. But that isn't actually who the person is, it is the role they are taking on in that moment. And a concept that I want to get by you is that the past and the future are not real. It's not that they never happened, but the thing is that the only moment that actually exists right now is this one. So the concept of the past is what we humans latch onto to understand and learn and use for our identity or story and so on and so forth. But again, it is a mental construct. It's not actually existent in this very moment. So it's not technically real. So the only defining moment is not the past. It is only this one. So when you can understand that, you can start rewriting the book a little bit, rewriting the script. This is what I tell my clients all the time. It's the only moment that exists. And since it's the only moment that exists, the only thing that technically defines you is how you are right now. So when you have this concept of the past, and I was, you know, because I've been shy in the past, I'm shy now, you are simply latching onto the concept that's not real, and then you're bringing it into the present, and then you're reinforcing it, which will reinforce the story that you tell yourself, okay? But if someone was to meet you for the first time who had zero context of your past, because the past is not real and they don't have an experience of that past, they will only see what is in this moment because it is the only defining moment. And they will see what you brought from the past into this present moment, which will be that shy person. And as a consequence, you will recreate that reality. And that is why step number one is to realize that you are not the identity that you've placed for yourself. It is just a construct. It is a concept in our mind that we use because the ego likes to latch onto things. Okay, this is how it is. I have control of this situation, so I feel safe, so I know what's going on. That is why it happens. So, I'll give you an example. My mum, for example, has had things in her past that really hurt her. And maybe you can relate with parents or someone close to you. And that narrative of always being hurt, of friends going behind her back or family going behind her back. Since she was so paranoid about it, she would treat the people as if they had already, let's say, cheated on her as an example. Even if they had not done it, she had put that energy on them. They reciprocated with the energy, felt it, and went, whoa, why are you being that way? And as a result, it will reinforce the reality because she put it on them, and they'll feel more inclined to act in that way just as a reaction. So everything is a reflection in your life, okay? So that's why it's very, very important to be careful of what you're identifying as and the energy that you are putting out. Remove the identification of that shy person, that anxious person. Realize, yes, maybe you have been there, but you have a choice not to be there anymore. Now, the next step here is, now that you understand the way that identity works, the next step is to take complete ownership and control, okay? And this is one that a lot of people struggle with. They play victim and they blame. Oh, well, you don't get it because my family makes it very hard, yeah? My friends keep seeing me as a certain way, and every time I try to act different, they bottle me back in as that person. So it's not my fault, it's my environment. Again, you were putting blame elsewhere, okay? And to give you an example of this, growing up again, when I really wanted to change, I had everyone going against me in my immediate family. I would invest in courses and I'd get told it was a scam. I would get told that you have a disorder for trying to diet and improve my health. I would get told all of these things. So people will challenge your reality and what you're trying to do. And that's why it's very important that you have to be very clear with now the identification you want to take on, and to not allow outside influences to then influence what you do. And the filter that I always said in regards to taking control is that when you can take ownership of something, even if it technically doesn't seem like your fault, you at least have the power to do something about that situation, right? If someone has done you hard by, they've cheated on you or whatever it is, you could always look at the situation and either say, one, well, that's not my fault, they're an asshole, or you could say, two, I wonder how I acted that may have not satisfied some part of them to then encourage them to go take that action. Not that it was right, but let me use this opportunity to self-reflect and improve myself. And this is what's required to really start leveling up. No matter what, when you go the victim route, even if you are right, it will not help you. And I tell always with my clients, I don't care if the belief isn't right. I care if the belief serves you. So even if technically whatever the belief isn't true, if it serves you in your reality and the goals that you want to accomplish and the person you want to be, I would still take it on, because my objective in life isn't always to be right, it's to improve. As an example, my father wasn't very active in my life. Now, that's a situation that can have its own repercussions. As a man, it is important that we have an example of a masculine figure in our life growing up to see that savage side of a man, for example. But when you don't have that, it's very easy to become very feminine in nature because you had no example of the other side. Now, I could use this situation and say, poor me, right? Or I could use this pain as my power and say, because I didn't, I will be just as good, if not even better. I'll become the best father that I possibly can, so that other people don't have to experience the same. And I know what it feels like to not have one. And that is my strength, because I'll know what to give to the next person. I can use it as my power, because I never would have known if it was always there. And this is what taking control looks like. Okay? When you got control and when you see everything as something that you can improve and use and flip to a positive, you can start recreating. And that's exactly what I had started doing in my small town when I lived with my family and things emotionally were just stressful all the time. Okay? And it was a hostile environment. Single mom, lots of kids. Things are a bit crazy. This is what allowed me to really start, okay, what can I do? The next step now is to actually have a very clear visual, have a very clear understanding of now the things you need to improve and the things that you want in your life to start taking action towards. And don't hold back with this one. I remember clearly when I was younger watching YouTubers, and that was a big influence of mine. You know, I would watch people in the dating space, in the fitness space, and I would look at them and I'd be like, oh, one day I'm gonna be their friend or whatever. And I would start visualizing and I would start imagining, daydreaming. And I think that's very important to be very clear on the reality that you want, so that you can start now taking action steps to do it, right? And you also got something that excites you, right? Before it was the pain pushes in regards to taking control of your situation. It will push you to take action, and then the vision will pull you. Okay, pain pushes until vision pulls. So when you got a good vision now, the pain is pushing you, you now see the vision, and that will pull you further. So the clearer you can be on the vision, the easier it will be to know what action steps to take and also feel that pull towards it. All right. And I used to do this when I was in my sales journey as well, because basically coaching now in the sales space for a good friend of mine, that only happened, and the only way that I got to that point was because I had a mentor who I respected, and I would always ask myself going along that journey when I was doing sales for my own business, and I would always go, well, what would he do? Or what would I do if I was already doing this? Or, you know, signing up this many people into my business? How would I act? How would I talk? What does that look like? What does it feel like? And I would start dressing the same. I'd start talking the same, acting the same. And next thing that you know is that I start embodying that reality and creating it over time. So that's the power of visualization and really understanding, having a crystal clear outlook on what it looks like. Do you want to be ripped? Do you want to be rich? Do you want to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Do you want to be on a yacht and have a house on the beach or whatever it is? What is it? Now, once you've got a very solid understanding of how you want it all to look, I want you to do an order of priority with these, all right? For example, if getting in shape is your number one, you can put that as number one. If the next one is like, well, let me make $1 million or whatever, then you put that as number two. If it's getting a girlfriend, number three. And you will order it in a way of prioritization for you, so you can start knowing where to pay your attention. Now, there is a saying that I really, really love, and I think you can use it to inspire what will be a priority for you. And that is, in regards to order of importance, it is health first, relationships second, and then money third. And relationships is inclusive, not just of like a dating point of view, but building relationships and network and friendships and providing value. That's what relationships means, because relationships usually what give you opportunities to make money anyways. So that order is very great. And health, without your health, you can't even appreciate or optimize the other two. So that's why it's health, relationships, and then money. All right. So you can order it the way that you want. Now, once you've done this, the next step is, based on that order of priority, what are the non-negotiable daily tasks? Now move the needle forward towards these things, because at this point, it's like a world that doesn't exist, right? You're like, well, I want all these things, but dude, I'm so far behind. I'm just starting. I have no idea how to do anything, whether it's create a business or talk to someone. So you got to come up with like very simple action steps that you can implement. And I've written an example that you can kind of take as inspiration of how you can go about this. And just to give a bit of an example, when I was, let's say, in my teens, fitness was like number one. All right, so it started with fitness, and then it started with learning basically how to start developing myself. So I went into the personal development route. But let me break down an example. So let's say for a moment that your order of priority is getting in shape is number one. Number two is becoming confident with women. And then let's say number three is developing high quality friends. And then number four is making money online. Let's say that's what you've come up with, and you've put them down in an order of priority. Now, the daily non-negotiables will be tailored to these, all right? So let's say for getting in shape, number one is like a non-negotiable 60-minute session, all right? Could be weights, could be cardio, whatever it is. And that doesn't have to be every day, but I'm just using this for the example's sake. Okay, so 60-minute weight session, and you schedule it in. That's your non-negotiable. It's gonna help you move the needle forward. Number two is 3 approaches every single day. If you wanna obviously become more confident with women. So I'll go say hi to this girl, and you do it 3 times, you try to improve upon it. Number 3 is speak to 2 new people daily, or help someone daily, like help a friend out daily. And you make an effort, non-negotiable, you gotta find someone to help, all right? And then number 4 is learn from a course for 60 minutes per day, so 1 hour daily. And now these are 4 non-negotiables that are moving the needle forward. And you break them down into achievable steps. You start small and you start building up. And obviously these will change over time, and you gotta be cognizant of what that is and what changes to make, which is the point of mentors. But you can see how this starts to break down. And then over time, you'll really underestimate how much you get done over years and years. But you'll overestimate how much you can get done in like a couple of weeks. Okay, remember that one. And that's how you now start getting the ball rolling. So you've gone from this like super shy and anxious and you doubt yourself in every way person, to now having a very, taking ownership of your life, having a very clear vision of where you want to go, and now knowing the order of priority that you want that you want to work on in regards to your goals and your daily non-negotiables. Now you've started your journey. This is massive to get to this point. A lot of people struggle to even get to that point, all right? Now, this next step will be really what will help make your journey a lot easier. So once you've done all that, I want you to pause this and take the time to go ahead and do it, and then revisit this video. But now, assuming that you've done that, the next step is to now design your environment accordingly, all right? Now, if you were like me growing up, you didn't necessarily have the option as immediate as possible to do it. I was living with family and I wasn't working at the time. So I had other ways of doing it. I would plug in my earphones at home and literally cut noise out. I would remember times essentially where there was this negative talk always happening in the house. I plugged in, I put personal development on, and I shut everything out. I created my own environment. So if you can't change it, create it. Friends as well. Make sure you start aligning yourself with people who align with where you want to go. Make sure that when you hang out with them, you are promoting and at least being a good support towards that. So that way you're not kind of being like dragged feet to them. Because at that point, you don't have many assets to give, so to speak, right? So just be good energy. And also your location. I'll give you a story about this one. So I grew up in Sydney, Australia. I'm in the Gold Coast now. As I was developing myself, the daily non-negotiables that I was talking about in the previous step, people could start seeing what I was doing. And there's nothing more that people love than when they see someone who's determined, right? I was still operating from that place of like, this has to happen. There's non-negotiables gotta happen. That's why I said daily non-negotiables. And that attracts people who are on that same mindset. And I had started developing friendships online, right? People in the Gold Coast too. And I was nurturing these friendships, right? Helping friends out and being of value. And because I was nurturing these friendships, remember the order of priority, I said health, relationships, and then money. I then got the opportunity to go move to the Gold Coast with one of them, who then was responsible for me meeting a whole new circle that completely helped me change my life, right? So I had done all the work because I had prioritized action, and then I was ready for the opportunity. And at this point in time, I was doing personal training in Sydney, in person. And within a 4-week time span, I quit. I went full-time online because I was already doing work and foundational stuff. And I left to go live in the Gold Coast with my friend. First time I was like living and supporting myself completely. And that's when things really started changing, because now I've got the environment that can help dictate as well. Because at the end of the day, it's that you can have the most discipline as possible, but there's just things you don't know until you're around a different environment and exposed to new ideas. The same way that I'm exposing you to new ideas right now. And that's exactly what had happened. I went to the Gold Coast and all of a sudden my whole reality shifted. It was like, oh man, this is more of what I was wanting to do, but also I'm learning different things. I'm learning how to be more independent. I'm learning how to interact with different levels of people. And from here, it was just getting better and better and better. But that's because I had started becoming the kind of person who these people wanted to be around, because I was driven, all right? And I just want to give you a bit of reassurance, which is, if you have that pain of like being really insecure about certain things about yourself, it's like these are some of your biggest drivers in the beginning, right? When you don't have that and everything's just fine and dandy, it's kind of easy. Like, you don't really try that hard. Things are easily given. But fuck, man, like when you got that insecurity driving you and you've got these doubts, but you're so driven, like you're an animal, man. Like, you'll go, you'll work, you'll do it, because you know what the pain feels like. So let that be a blessing. So environment is so important. I will not surround myself with people who don't align. I will not spend my time with people who don't align. And if I have to, I know the place that it has, and I won't spend majority of my time there. So that's super, super important. So me moving out of my hometown was massive. And if you got that opportunity, it could be a great idea for you, all right? It was for me, at least. Now, the next step is risk, okay? Now, risk, I mean, think about it. I had gone from working a personal training job in person to completely going online and being full-time just me, right? Having to do everything, find clients myself, support everything myself. And there was a degree of risk there, okay? It was a calculated risk. But the whole point is this: if you're not feeling uncomfortable, you're probably not moving aggressive enough. And I'm not saying to go throw everything out the window and just be absolutely risk-taking to the point where you can just destroy yourself and your reality. But if you're uncomfortable, you're probably on the right path. Okay, there's a lot of discomfort and growth when this happens. And I'll give you an example. When I was going down the route of like, wanting to get better with women and all of this, I would do dares and challenges to really like get ballsy with shit. As an example, I would do things where I would jump on a train, literally jump on a train, not on the train, like in the train. I'd be going to the city for a night out with friends of mine. And I remember like one of the dares or challenges was to stand up and start singing by yourself, like out loud in a busy carriage, okay? Sounds not that bad, but when you are like super shy, this is hard. It's hard. And I was in there and I remember like stood up and I was like, oh man, I gotta do this, Like, I didn't even plan on doing it, but the thought crossed my mind. And I knew that if I didn't do it, I would have felt like a bitch. So I was like, nah, you gotta do it now. So I like got the lyrics to my phone, I stood up, and the best part was like just before I had a normal conversation, so with someone. So it kind of looked like I was normal and then went retarded. And I got up and I was like, and I just started singing and trembling, and I'm just like, my whole body just started caving in, like looking down, like shame, And it was the most awkward thing, like this old lady got up and looked at me, gave me a dirty, went to the downstairs carriage. The guy who I previously spoke to looked at me like, what the hell? Like, I didn't expect that. And it was just super awkward. And then I sat back down and acted like nothing happened. And I'm just sitting there like, I cannot wait until I get off this train. It was so awkward. And the funniest part was when the train stopped, as I'm walking off the train, I look, and in the carriage below where the old lady went, they're like pointing at me, like, that's the guy. Like, imagine that, you got a family with an old lady and they're pointing and laughing at you. It was humiliating. But the funniest part the funniest thing happened, which was as soon as I got off the train and the doors shut, I just felt this sense of, whoa. I literally like feel on top of the fucking world. Like the biggest sense of pride came about. And I had no fear. I had no sense of social anxiety. I literally went to the club that night and I was just like merging groups, like, oh yeah, hey, like this is blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, people are like just connecting the whole dance floor, like for each other, creating things with zero fear, because I had done something that was way more nerve-wracking than that. And that was such a crazy moment for me to realize the power of what's on the other side of fear. And some of the best things I've ever done in my life was after and on the other side of fear. Like I've performed in front of hundreds of people on a piano in a music competition, and I came first place, but you know, leading up to that was like the most nerve-wracking thing. I had never done anything in front of multiple people, let alone hundreds, and then performed. And I did it and I ended up winning. And even I felt the performance wasn't good, like I was shaking and playing. And my name was called out as number one. And like that rush, that like, oh my fucking God. Just, it's incredible. It's incredible. So that if you're not at least somewhat uncomfortable, it's a little bit of a reminder that maybe you're not playing big enough. Okay, that maybe you're avoiding some things, especially when you've got a lot of things to overcome. And I know you do if you're watching this, because I did. If you can do this, you're very clear on what you want, you're constantly adjusting the daily non-negotiables, your priorities, you're getting uncomfortable, you're curating your environment, you're not letting identification of the past hold you back, you're gonna be doing really fucking well. The only caveat here is that you can have the best mindset, but if you don't know what you don't know, you don't fucking know it. And the way to know for the next step is getting the right mentors. Super important. I've spent hundreds and thousands of dollars on mentors alone. Okay, $30,000 masterminds, $12,000 programs. And there's gonna be times where you make the wrong investment and then you make the right one and all of this, but the trade-off is worth it, because when you find the right ones, it will propel you so much further. The reward will be so much better than the loss of maybe losing a couple thousand. You know, I invested $3K into a mentorship and got shit all out of it. Like two phone calls, but like the advice was super generic, and then I barely heard from the guy. Waste of time. But then I've also invested money where it was like, fuck man, that was the best thing ever. You know, I invested like 6K for the sales training thing, which completely changed me. And that's Bruno Bairami, by the way, if you don't know. HTC, High Ticket Closing, you can look him up. I currently still coach 1 time a week for his business. And mentors will level you up essentially over time, all right? And it's super important because they will show you what you don't know, because they've walked the path, and it will save you so much time. So everything I've told you about is developing your character, but then the actual knowledge is finding the right people, okay? And then as you continue to go through this journey, there is going to be a point where you get to the next level. Once you've walked your path, let's say for a moment you're where I am right now, which is, you know, I've gotten mentors and so on and so forth. I've created a life that I really love. You know, I'm independent of location. I live in a cool place. Like, it's not my house, but renting. Yeah, you know, beautiful girlfriends. I'm in shape, best shape of my life. Great friends, like extremely proactive people who do extremely well, and helping other people do the same, you know, working with my clients. Being at this point, there's a degree of being able to tap into your own strengths and listen to yourself more than just mentors, right? Because in the beginning, you're a bit more, you know, step by step, get along the journey. But then eventually you become a lot more, if you really want to be at a next level, you got to step into your own uniqueness. Because remember what I said about the whole thing of this is the only moment that exists, and the only thing that identifies you is this very moment. And again, identity is just a construct, so it's not even real. Well, when you understand that, what you realize is that you can actually be whatever the hell you want in this moment, and that people who are living a life that you respect or idolize to some degree are just fucking people too in a moment, choosing to act a certain way, you realize that we're not actually fucking different. Like, we all have a lot of opportunity available to us. But the only difference now is that some people believed their own ability to take it and do it their own way. They just believed in the reality they wanted to create so much and then step into their power. And no one else can really dictate what that is for you except for yourself, because you know yourself the best out of everyone, right? So I'm also at a stage in my life now where it's like, I'm thinking for myself a lot more. I'm thinking about, hey, what do I want to do that's unique, that's actually different? Like, where I have to stop looking at other people and I got to look a lot more within now, right? And you'll notice that this evolution will start happening, because in the beginning, you kind of just need someone to hold your hand. But now you need to lead the way. That's fucking beautiful, man. And that's the unique ability, you know, what's your strengths, what's your uniqueness? And how can you now start tapping into that and go fucking all the way down a path that not many people have tread? And that's the most beautiful fucking thing, because now the world is your oyster. You know you're capable of, let's say, working for yourself if that's what you want to do, but you're living a life by your own design. You're in the best shape, you're confident, you don't struggle with self-esteem problems, you've gone through the character development, and now it's like, all right, what do I want to do that's unique and I actually really fucking love this, you know? I'm designing a life that I really like. How can I now create from a place of inspiration? And that is where things get really fun. And that is essentially the framework of the action steps that I took to go from that person to where we are right now. And if you truly can take these seriously, and there was a saying that I heard once, I believe Alex Hormozy said it, which is, when you listen to something and you don't change any behaviors or actions after the fact, you haven't learned anything. So if you're watching this, you're clearly watching this for a reason. And if you've gone this far through, you've clearly watched this and have some degree of relatability to the struggles that I faced myself, of leveling up and really stepping into a version of myself that I truly wanted to step into. Then you got to start breaking this down step by step, what you're actually going to be doing to making these shifts now. Okay, so what I would advise of you is, obviously this is a bit of a longer video, but if you can step by step break down and run through everything that I went through and really look at, you know, how you are holding on to a potential identity right now that isn't serving you, and then being very clear on what you want, taking the time to really set that foundation strong and make it a very large foundation, so that when you start building upon this with your action steps, you can build a bigger pyramid, right? Which is you. When you set the foundation strong and you're clear of how you want things to look and the things that are holding you back, and you really rework that stuff and you come from the right place, you can go so much more in the long run. So do that, dedicate that time. Don't just take this as a motivational video. I don't care about that, right? I care about you shooting me a message, shooting me a before and after photo and saying, look at the fucking change I made, right? That's what I care about. So take control and start listing out, like I said, all the things that you want to do, right? In order of priority. And then start doing daily non-negotiables to start moving the needle towards that and readjusting from there. Then get your environment to suit it. Make sure that you got that filter of like, am I really being uncomfortable? Am I comfortable right now? Get people in the same position of where you want to be in those areas. And then eventually, once you get those results, you start even thinking more for yourself to get to the next level. And that's the process that I want you to go through, and set this out and make a promise to yourself to dedicate the time to do this properly. Because the alternative is that you keep living the same way that you're living right now. And I know you don't want that, because I didn't want that. And we both know that that is choosing comfort and mediocrity over discomfort and personal fucking growth, stepping into potential. And imagine all the people who are feeling the same way around you, that you could be a fucking beacon for. Like, yo, look, I did this. Let me reach out and fucking pull you out of the rut, pull you out of the mud, because I know exactly what to do. Because this real motherfucker told me. That's the shit, man. That's what it is. You develop yourself, you break through levels at a time. You prove to yourself over and over again what you can do, and you help others do the same. But to help others, and create that impact, you have to help your fucking self. It starts with the daily non-negotiables. It starts with being very intentional with your actions. It doesn't start with watching Netflix and wishing and dreaming. That's not how it fucking works. So implement the shit. And if you do want support and you want personalized guidance and you want communication with me, join the community. I've got a community where there's weekly Q&As. You jump on a Zoom call with me every single week and you ask questions that you want. You tell me about what's going on and I can help you, okay? And you don't have to do this, but that is there. And all the fitness content that I've created over years of coaching as well, if getting in shape is also part of the equation for you, that is in there as well. Understanding what to do with your food, where to start with the training, and all of that good stuff, all right? So it's gonna be everything of personal development, mindset, getting your fitness right, and being able to have that accountability every single week with me. Okay, so if you do want that support network, that support system, and to grow together, so eventually you can step into your potential and help others do the same and carry this message onwards, come join the community. It's $47 a month, it's nothing crazy, okay? And let's start fucking growing, just to level up the fucking character, okay? Because that's what we're doing. We're creating a fucking movement now. And again, you don't have to join it. It's totally up to you. You can implement everything in this video alone and already start seeing fucking amazing progress just by following this YouTube channel. But if you do want that personalized help and you got very specific questions or whatever it is, come join, all right? I'm more than happy to be there for you, and let's fucking go. I hope this helps. who couldn't go to the beach and take his shirt off without having his arms across his belly because he was insecure and paranoid that people were looking at him, who would shake for the first time that he ever asked a girl out in his life and could barely even talk. How I went from that individual to where we are right now. And I'm going to share with you the exact steps that I had to go through within those times from the age of 15 all the way through to 26. And the main things that I had learned the hard way, going through the hard yards, and how you don't have to spend that much time and just can look at the most golden nuggets and learning lessons, apply that to yourself now so you can get a head start and hopefully do even better than I did. Now I want to share with you a bit of a step-by-step process that I had to go through in regards to taking that transformation. Now, the first step